Hey Phantom friends, and welcome back to my roast corner. Okay, well, I'm not totally here to roast this one, but you get the idea. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1990 Phantom miniseries starring Charles Dance and Teri Polo. This is one of the only two Phantom films that I actually like, which I mentioned in my roast of Argento's horror film. Again, warning everyone of massive spoilers. This film is more based off of Arthur Kopit's musical production of Phantom rather than LaRue's novel. So keep that in mind and don't be expecting a LaRue faithful adaptation. I had not yet read the novel when I first saw this, so I had thankfully not yet become the LaRue elitist that I am today, and was able to go into it with a little bit more of an open mind. There are many things that I love about this film, and really not that many things that I dislike about it. Now, there are some great, hilarious things that happen throughout, but it really does not take away from the overall success of the film. First off, I want to say that I greatly appreciate the fact that this was actually filmed at the Palais Garnier and is, as far as I'm aware, the only film to ever actually do this. You get an amazing look at this incredible building from all over, which is very cool and throws you just a little bit of that LaRue aspect that we're all craving. Moving on, let's talk about Eric. In this film, Eric is played by Charles Dance. I really do love his take on the role, where he really made Eric to just be really adorably awkward, which I think is more realistic than the seductive, sexy character we've all come to know. The dude had no social interaction for years because he was living underground. Your social skills are going to be lacking. However, that awkwardness did not come at the expense of his humor and sarcasm, because it is absolutely on point. Eric is so savage in this film, especially in regard to Carlotta and the manager. It never fails to make me laugh.
My God, the place really is haunted. What is that?
I had to do it. Now, something I addressed in my Phantom memes video is this just very odd little detail. Unlike the Argento, Eric actually is disfigured in this and does in fact wear a mask. However, it's this weird flesh-colored looking thing, and you never actually see his face. He does wear multiple masks for random, unknown reasons throughout the film, but every time he takes one off, the weird-ass flesh-colored mask is always right there underneath it. Why? I don't know. But it's become a bit of a joke among the fans who have seen this film. Now, I told you that we are never directly shown his face, but you do get somewhat of a glimpse of it during a flashback scene at one point, where you realize that Eric looks a bit more like Darth Maul than a disfigured genius. Something else I have to say about Eric, while we're still on the subject, is just something funny in correlation to my personal life. Charles Dance has this red curly hair, not the slicked back black hair that we're used to seeing. And the funny thing about that is, because of it, Charles Dance as the Phantom looks exactly like a friend of mine when he dressed up as the Phantom for Halloween. I cannot unsee it and it kills me. Okay, so let's move on to Christine. Teri Polo did an excellent job at capturing Christine's innocence and her relationship with Eric. Now, unlike the novel and the Weber musical, in Kopit's version, there was never the ruse of the angel of music. He directly comes to her in person and asks to teach her, but doesn't tell her his name and makes up a really awkward excuse for wearing the mask.
And if others should hear that I am giving lessons, well, they will want them too.
He doesn't want people to know who he is, so they won't ask for lessons. So anyway, that means the dynamic between Eric and Christine is a bit different. She doesn't have to deal with the major disillusionment of him not being who she thought he was, so she doesn't reject him as much right off the bat. This Eric made a slightly better approach in that sense. He only catfished her a little in this one. He also doesn't tell her he loves her right away. She actually finds out from someone else, which I will go into later. I also want to say that my LaRue fangirliness got satisfied in another way because in this film, Christine is blonde, like she is in the novel. Those little tidbits are something that really helps me appreciate the film more and forgive the changes in the story. It takes a brave soul to mess with Phantom. Now, Raoul. Dear God, where did they find this pretty boy, living Ken doll motherfucker with the perfect hair and cleft chin? Oh my God. In this one, he's actually named Philippe, which is actually Raoul's older brother's name, so I don't really understand that choice. Whatever. There is actually a nod to the way that the real Christine Nilsson, was discovered in real life, which was a benefactor hearing her sing at a local fair and offering to pay for her tuition. And this is what Raoul does. Philippe, whatever. It's another thing that gave me a little victory dance. Now, while Raoul in this is originally a huge playboy that's basically screwing every chorus girl in the opera house and is dumber than a bag of rocks, he is not the manipulative, stalker, entitled asshole that he is in the novel and the Weber musical. He seems to actually kind of care about her. And while he would still not be attractive to me, he is still better than the usual representation of him that we get personality-wise. Another character that needs to be talked about is Gerard Carrier. He is the former manager that gets canned when this motherfucker shows up with Carlotta, who is his wife, and forced Gerard into retirement. He is played by Burt Lancaster, and while his acting abilities had somewhat gone downhill at this point in his life, it was still cool to have an actor of that acclaim in a Phantom movie. He is, spoiler alert, Eric's father. However, Eric doesn't really know this, but he knows that Eric lives down there and has taken care of him all these years. Now, here's something weird that I really wish people would stop doing when it comes to Phantom. This freaking Oedipus complex where Christine always looks like Eric's mother. Ew. Nowhere in the original novel does it suggest this, so there's no legitimate reason to make his attraction to her so awkward. He's already like 30 years older than her. We didn't need to add anything else. But anyway, Gerard is the one that finally tells Christine that Eric is in love with her, after he finally brings her down to the house on the lake. We are literally already halfway through the movie by the time this happens. Now, here's where things get weird and absolutely hilarious. At first, everything's hunky-dory, and Christine and Eric are both just chilling together. Then we really start to see Eric's awkwardness go to a whole new level. He takes Christine on a picnic to this really weird-ass forest that is somehow inside the cellars of the opera. I'm talking you can even see the sky. Makes no sense. This forest is also filled with fake animals that are all over the place. Apparently Eric has taken up taxidermy in his spare time. Birds, deer, the works. What the hell? And as he's walking her through, he then goes on this weird narrative about how he calls it his dreamery, and it's like magic. Then there's this awkward exchange.
You are magic too, I think.
No, I don't think that.
Oh, yes, you are. I know. Magic is my friend. Magic cannot hide from me.
What? So they finally arrive at their picnic spot, and after being given Eric's backstory about his face by Gerard, Christine asks him to take off his mask. She's trying to actually return his love and thinks that she can handle it. He's very resistant and is just like, no, let's just leave things the way they are. So what does she do? She pulls out the "If You Love Me" card. This is the first time in this movie where I'm like, bitch, most manipulative thing on earth that you can say to someone. He's totally uncomfortable with it, but she says,
If you love me, please let me love you too.
And what happens when she finally convinces him to take it off? She passes the out. So Eric starts crying and storms off, but not before taking it out on one of his beloved fake deer. Oh my god. Now, before we get any further into the storyline, I want to address some things about the editing. This film went through some kind of process in Korea where the subtitles were done. Apparently, going from English to Korean and back again is tricky business, because when you put on the English subtitles, you get the most hilariously inaccurate readings on earth.
You're listening to a stagehand.
He bought his way in.
I am not a buffoon! Good riddance is what I say.
Just to show you a few. Back to the story. Christine wakes up. Eric proceeds to lock her in a cage, which she very easily escapes from, and runs off with Ralph Philippe. Now, in Argento's version, we find out that Eric is psychic. In this version, apparently, Christine is psychic, because she has a premonition in her sleep that Eric is going to die because of her. So she freaks out and tells Ralph Philippe to take her back. She has decided that somehow just going in and singing for him one last time, and then leaving again, is somehow going to hurt him less. Ralph Philippe naturally balks at the idea, and so Christine, yet again,
If you love me at all, please, Philippe, please.
Now, when we finally get to the performance, Carlotta doesn't mind at this point because she's lost her goddamn mind since Eric dumped a suitcase full of rats on her for giving Christine some drink that f***s up her voice when she's debuting as Marguerite.
Ah! The rat!
No,
the rat!
there are-
The rat!
Look. No rats. No rats. No rats.
What is it with phantom movies and rats? So she's on stage, and here we are introduced to the absolutely incredible final trio of Faust. This is my favorite moment in any opera ever, and this was the film that introduced me to it. We have a very beautiful duet when Eric begins to sing from Box 5 with her. And if you know French, you know that some of the lyrics they sing together are, "Yes, it's you, I love you." Remember how I said that she thought this was going to make leaving hurt less? You're just leading him on and rubbing salt in the wound now. So to ruin the moment after they've finished, some dumbass policeman takes a shot at Eric, triggering him to swoop down and kidnap Christine. The final exchange takes place on the roof, where Eric and Ralph Philippe are going at it. And just as Eric is about to kill him, what magic words does Christine use again?
Eric, if you love me, please.
So he, doesn't. But by now, all of the cops are on the roof and have surrounded Eric. Here we go with another massive spoiler. Eric does not want to be captured and end up on display, so he makes his father shoot him. I bawled my fucking eyes out. And as he's dying, Christine takes off his mask, managing not to faint this time, and kisses him. So basically, the ending of this is just as fucking sad as the original. Except we have to actually watch Eric die. Great. Overall though, despite its flaws, I give this movie 9 out of 10. I am not easy to please when it comes to Phantoms, so I'm pretty amazed myself. But I highly recommend this version, and I know I have watched it again and again, and will continue to, and laugh and cry and everything that comes with it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions for movies or novels that I should review, leave them in the comments. Stay fantastic with a PH, and remember to keep your hand at the level of your eyes.
Oh,
The rats! The rats!
no, there are no rats. No rats.
Alfredo!
Yes.
Godiamo, ci invita a un
Sally, please.